Greetings, exile. Almost a year ago, settlers from Kalgor came and claimed a corner of the wretched lands of Rayclust. Every exile hoped they'd eventually pack up and leave, so we could get back to uncovering the secrets buried in the Atlas. But no, turns out they've permanently settled in, though at least we're no longer unpaid day labourers helping build their town. But now, with the secrets of the Atlas finally revealed, and with everyone's second favourite waifu making a glorious return after 3 long years,
Still sane,
we can finally
exile?
move on. Once again, we venture into the cursed lands of Rayclust, this time in search of her memories. Of course, everyone has their own way of exploring, and mine is probably wrong, but that's never stopped me before. So let's talk about my plans for 3.26 Secrets of the Atlas. Some of you might remember my old Boneshatter of Carnage Slayer, also known as Sir Bonksalot. That build could stun and destroy even the toughest bosses in Path of Exile. Sadly, it got nerfed pretty hard. But this league, I'm bringing that legacy back. This time as a champion and on a lower budget. Before I explain why I chose champion, let's talk about the main skill. We're using Boneshatter of Carnage, the transfigured version of regular Boneshatter. Unlike the original, it doesn't give any flat physical damage or trauma stacks on its own, but it does reduce enemy stun threshold, can double stun duration, has much higher damage effectiveness, and most importantly, it lets us use trauma support. Trauma support is great for stun builds, since every trauma stack gives flat physical damage and increases stun duration. And in patch 3.26, Boneshatter of Carnage gets even better. It now deals up to 20% more damage to the stunned enemies based on quality. If you add Ashes of the Stars on top of this, that bonus can go up to 50% more damage, which is like getting a free support gem. The skill's radius is also bigger now, so clearing feels smoother, perfect for a league start. Now let's talk about why I picked Champion as my ascendancy and why it fits this build so well. In the new Secrets of the Atlas update, Champion got some big buffs that make it one of the strongest ascendancies right now. First, we have the Fortitude node. Before, it just gave you 15 permanent Fortify stacks. Now, it gives you your maximum possible Fortify stacks all the time. Normally the max is 20, but we can increase that with things like the Steadfast cluster for +6, Celestial Brace Gloves for +10, and a Lethal Pride Jewel near the Stamina node for +4. These aren't the only sources of fortification, but they're the most relevant for our build. If you're still curious, here are some others. The Beacon of Madness boots can give up to +15 Fortify, but they come with heavy downsides, making them unreliable. The Replica Badge of the Brotherhood Amulet adds +1 to maximum Fortify per endurance charge, but it's not worth using unless you're stacking a lot of endurance charges, and even then, it's a questionable use of your amulet slot. You can also get up to +8 from certain Lethal Pride Jewels, but they're expensive and require investing into a lot of nearby nodes, which isn't ideal. Finally, you can get +7 from a Benchcraft or +10 while focused from unveiling a body armor, but getting the unveil you want can be quite a hassle. So we go by our setup to get 40 Fortify stacks total, and each stack gives 1% reduced hit damage taken, which is 40% less damage from all hits, including spells and even the self-damage from trauma stacks. This makes the build tanky and lets us handle lots of trauma stacks safely. Next is the Unstoppable node. It was changed and now gives more benefits the higher your Fortify stacks go. For every stack above 20, you get 3% more armor and evasion and 3% increased attack speed. At 40 stacks, that's 60% more armor and evasion and 60% attack speed. The Celestial Brace Gloves add even more attack speed based on Fortify, so we end up with 100% increased attack speed total. That's great for building trauma stacks fast and dealing more damage. Then we have First to Strike, Last to Fall. This gives us Adrenaline when we drop to low life. Adrenaline gives 100% increased damage, 10% extra physical damage reduction, and boosts to attack and movement speed. It also instantly heals 25% of our life. It's a perfect panic button for when trauma stacks get too dangerous. After that, Inspirational helps us even more by boosting the effect of our auras like Pride, Determination, and Grace. This means more damage and better defenses. It also provides a 0.1% of life regenerated per second per valor consumed to place the banner. Since we can hold up to 105 valor, that's 10.5% life regenerated per second, which is super useful in boss fights and for sustaining trauma stacks. Lastly, we have the new Worthy Foe node. It lets us generate valor while our banner is planted and makes the banner last 50% longer. This helps us keep our banner up more often and get the full benefits from it. Overall, Champion gives us everything this build needs: damage, defense, speed, and survivability. It's the perfect choice to make a trauma stacking build feel smooth and powerful. Now that you know how the skill works and why Champion is the perfect ascendancy for it, let's talk about how to actually scale the build properly. We're using a two-handed mace, and you might wonder why that choice specifically. The answer is simple. Maces offer the best options for stun builds. They have access to passive nodes that boost stun duration and reduce enemy stun threshold. There are also some amazing weapon masteries like increased stun duration, culling strike against stunned enemies, and crushing enemies on hit, all of which fit perfectly into this build. The pile driver base is especially good because it has the highest base attack speed among weapons that can apply trauma, and it comes with reduced enemy stun threshold as it's implicit. Plus, two-handed weapons have their own mastery that gives 15% more stun duration, which is a huge help. Back when I made this build as a Slayer, it was built around crits and involved stacking frenzy and endurance charges with some shenanigans using Ralakesh's impatience boots to get brutal charges. But since those boots got nerfed, that route is no longer viable, and honestly, I didn't want to just remake the same version again. So this time, we're going non-crit and focusing on rage stacking. Each point of rage gives us 1% more damage, and we can get up to 60 rage just from the passive tree. That's 60% more damage, which we can boost even further up to 90% by using the Berserk skill gem. We're also making good use of War Banner, which provides up to 40% more damage when fully stacked at 105 Valor. And once we hit level 80, we'll equip a Perseverance belt to get permanent onslaught while fortified, giving us another nice boost to attack speed and movement speed. Overall, the main goals are to reach at least 75% reduced enemy stun threshold, since pushing past that has diminishing returns, and to get as much attack speed as possible so we can stack high trauma quickly. Following this build will give you a smooth league start. I've already done a full test run through the campaign to make sure of it. I've also created a path of building for the setup, which you'll find linked in the description. That way, you won't have to wait for me to finish the campaign once the league begins. And for those interested in a full leveling guide, just drop a comment below and I'll get to work on it. If you're enjoying the content, don't forget to like, subscribe, and maybe even smack that notification bell so you won't miss whatever comes next. For anyone interested in this build or future updates, feel free to hop into our Discord server and stay connected. As always, thanks for watching, Exile.